Good morning, First Unitarian. Welcome to those of you here in person, and welcome to those of you who are participating online from wherever you are. We're thrilled that you're with us today. First Unitarian is an intentional community committed to growing souls in love and service, realizing justice, inspiring connection, and celebrating diversity. No matter where you come from, whether you bring joy or pain in your heart today, no matter who or how you love, and whether you're a believer, a skeptic, or you just don't know, you are welcome here. We are a community of seekers committed to the transformative power of love and justice, and the concept that revelation continues to unfold in our lives and in the world. Our call to worship today is from the great American poet, Walt Whitman. When I heard the learned astronomer, when the proofs, the figures were ranged in columns before me, when I was shown the charts and the diagrams to add, divide, and measure them, when I, sitting, heard the astronomer where he lectured with much applause in the lecture room, how soon, unaccountable, I became tired and sick. Till, rising and gliding out, I wandered off by myself in the mystical, moist night air, and from time to time looked up in the perfect silence at the stars. Once again, welcome.
If this is your first or perhaps second time joining us here, we are so glad you are here. We hope you find welcome. And for those of you joining us online, again, if this is your first or second time here, welcome, wherever you are. This is a song just for you. We are men, we are one, the light of the world is within you. Sacred and worthy is your soul, a place has been made for you. Welcome.
Good morning. Our time for all ages this morning is called The Shattering of Vessels and is a free retelling of a story from the Kabbalah that's been written by Amy Petrie Shaw. At the beginning of time, before anything else at all existed, love was all there was, and it filled up everything in the whole universe. But love got bored and lonely. There was no one to be in love with. So one day, love decided to make a world. First, it took a deep breath. Can you take a deep breath? How deep? Let's see, try one more time, a little deeper. Pretty good. Love got all squished up, taking the deepest breath ever, and was so squished that it squeezed out darkness. And the darkness was all around, thick and shiny and black, and it was beautiful. But now, love couldn't see anything. So love waved its arms and its legs around, but the darkness was everywhere. I have to do something about this, said love. It thought for a minute and tried to think of the most wonderful, warm, beautiful thoughts ever. Love thought harder and harder, and all of a sudden, love called out, "There should be light." And pop! All of the warm and wonderful and beautiful thoughts exploded outward in 10 different directions and shaped themselves into 10 big glowing glass balls. Each ball was filled with a spinning lump of pure light and warmth. And some of the spare good thoughts that couldn't quite fit into the glass became dust and water vapor and seeds and molecules that could form animals. And love said, "This is amazing. I better make something for the light to shine on." So it waved its arms and kicked its legs again, and all of the dust and water vapor and molecules that had been scattered around when the glass balls formed began to form into another huge ball, this one of dirt and water and plants and animals, and love called this Earth. The 10 balls of light started toward the Earth. And if they had made it here in one piece, the entire planet would have been exactly the way love wanted it. But the glass balls were too fragile to contain such strong and powerful, wonderful, good thoughts. They broke open and shattered, and all the good thoughts shattered and flew out like sparks and were scattered like sand and like seeds and like stars, and those sparks fell everywhere on the earth in tiny bits instead of the big clumps like love had intended. "Oh no," said love. "I'm too big. I'll never be able to find all of those tiny little sparks. I think I have to make one more thing." So love waved its arm and kicked its feet one last time, and people appeared on the earth. They didn't know it, but they were created with one job: to find these sparks, these tiny pieces of wonderful goodness, and to bring them together again into big clumps. When enough clumps are there, I will recreate the big glass containers to hold them, and this time I will set them down a little more carefully, love said. So all of us, from the time we are born and have a job, we have a job, and that job is to help find love and more good and warm and wonderful things. And if we do that, we're fixing the world. We need the beautiful darkness and the warm light in our lives. In this community, we try to move our arms and our legs to build a fair and a peaceful and a loving world. And we look for and create more love in the world because we are, each of us, little bits and pieces of love ourselves. When we can see the people around us like that, then we can see our connections and the web of life that unites us, like blazing threads of light inside of glass containers. Almost like light bulbs on a string of lights, lighting up the night brighter together. Maybe you see some of those lights as you're moving around your area of the world. And I hope that you can see the other people in this room and in your homes and in your communities as those bright lights as well. Blessings on your week.
Would you please rise in body and or spirit and join me in singing our hymn today, Return Again. Return again, return again, turn to the home of your soul. Return again, return again, turn to the home of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are. Return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return to who you are, return to what you are. Return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again, return again. Turn to the home of your soul. Return again, return again, turn to the home of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again, return again, turn to the home of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul.
Good morning. I'm Eddie Carroll, and I have the honor of serving on the Board of Trustees here at First Unitarian Society of Denver. And I've been asked to speak on the offertory today. So I was not raised in the Unitarian Universalist tradition. I was raised in the Roman Catholic tradition. But I always tell my UU friends that Unitarian Universalists greatly benefited from my upbringing in the Roman Catholic faith. My parents and my family were not Sunday-only Catholics. The expectation was you jumped right in the deep end of the pool, and you served in every capacity possible. So I served when I was in high school. I was the representative to the parish council. I served as a lector, as a Eucharistic minister. I was president of the altar boys. So it was just this upbringing of that I brought with me, as any of you who know me, of serving in lots of capacities in the various UU churches I've been a part of. Another piece that I took from my Catholic upbringing was the sense of generosity and giving. When you're a Catholic, after you get after you get confirmed, which happens generally back when I was a kid around 7th or 8th grade, you became a member of the parish, and you suddenly got these little boxes sent to your home that were the offertory envelopes, and it had your name on it, and it was every Sunday was wonderfully detailed, mapped out. And then all the high holy days were thrown in there too, and also the bishop's appeal and all these other things. So there were way more envelopes than just on Sunday. And there was the expectation, whatever you got from doing chores and stuff, that you would take some of that money and put it in that envelope every Sunday. And so I grew up with that understanding, and of course that also transferred to my experience here as a Unitarian Universalist. So I invite you, in that spirit of generosity, to put something in the offertory today. You may contribute by leaving your offertory in the basket as you exit the sanctuary. If you're online, go to tiny.cc/FUSD-give and choose Give to the Annual Operating. Thank you.
Well, you can just come back anytime. That was just lovely. Good morning, First Unitarian. I just got to tell you, I have gladness today to be among you. It's been one of those weeks, and I just have gladness to be with and among my people today. So thank you for being here. And not just you who are here, but those of you who are online. I can't see you, but I feel you, and I have gratitude for your presence. I want to let you know this Thursday, 6:30, right here in this room and also online, we will be doing a worship service for all those for whom Christmas and the winter holidays come with, shall we say, mixed emotions, troubled memories, or something less than the proverbial unexpected joy. Seeking Holiday Wholeness is the name we've given to this service. We're going to do this Thursday at 6:30, and you are all warmly invited to a time of community and comfort and beautiful music and winter reflection. A few joys and a few joys and concerns I want to hold up this morning. Stu Ferguson had robotic surgery last Monday to remove a cancer. So far, it appears it was all successful, and he is home, and he says he's feeling pretty good. Be another 6 weeks or so before he can return to his normal activities. I want to let you know Marilee Bowe had a heart procedure last week, and then was back in the emergency room with some complications, some inflammation, and pneumonia. At the moment, though, she is back home. She is taking her medicine, and she's hoping to stay there. I want to note today that it just seems like everybody I talk to right now is in one way or another, just exhausted, worn out, weary, tired, needing more rest. And if that's you, for whatever comfort it is worth, know that you are not alone. There seems to be an undercurrent of, heaviness or stress in the air these days. And I don't know the exact cause, but I know that whoever you are, you deserve that rest. Take it. You deserve to take care of yourself. You deserve the comfort. These are not easy times we're living in. I want to send out courage and light to one of our members who's losing a job this month. I want to send out clarity and compassion and comfort to one of our families with a teenager whose behavior is causing some tremendous stress. And lastly, I want to send prayers of comfort and food and water and shelter to all the communities in Arkansas, Kentucky, Illinois, and Missouri, and Tennessee, where tornadoes wrought devastation last week. Some of those aerial photos were just heartbreaking. So comfort and food and shelter for those people. Our prayer today, and we're talking about the Kabbalah today, a little Jewish mysticism. And our prayer today is not exactly from that tradition, but I believe it speaks to it. This is from Khalil Gibran, speaking about love, and the only alterations, I've made a couple of alterations. I've shortened it a little bit, and I'm changing the pronouns to be gender neutral. When love beckons to you, follow them, though their ways are hard and steep. And when their wings unfold you, yield to them, though the sword hidden among their pinions may wound you. And when they speak to you, believe in them, though their voice may shatter your dreams as the north wind lays waste the garden. For even as love crowns you, so shall they crucify you. Even as they are for your growth, so they are for your pruning. Even as they ascend to your height and caress your tenderest branches that quiver in the sun, so shall they descend to your roots and shake them in their clinging to the earth. They assign you their sacred fire, that you may become sacred bread for God's feast. All these things shall love do unto you, that you may know the secrets of your heart, and in that knowledge become a fragment of life's heart. Love gives not for itself, and takes not but from itself. Love possesses not, nor would it be possessed, for love is sufficient unto love. And when you love, you should not say, God is in my heart, but rather, I am in the heart of God. And think not you can direct the course of love, for love, if it finds you worthy, directs your course. Love has no other desire but to fulfill itself. But if you love and must need have desires, let these be your desires: to melt and be like a running brook that sings its melody to the night, to know the pain of too much tenderness, to be wounded by your own understanding of love, and to bleed willingly and joyfully, to wake at dawn with a winged heart and give thanks for another day of loving, to rest at the noon hour and meditate love's ecstasy, to return home at eventide with gratitude, and then to sleep with a prayer for the beloved in your heart and a song of praise on your lips. Amen.
This piece, Eli, Eli, was composed by Hannah Sanesh. She was a poet and a special operations executive paratrooper. She was one of 37 Jewish parachutists who were dropped into Yugoslavia during the Second World War to assist in the rescue of Hungarian Jews about to be deported to the German death camp at Auschwitz. Sanesh was arrested at the Hungarian border and imprisoned and tortured, but refused to reveal the details of her mission. She was eventually tried and executed, and today she is regarded as a national heroine in Israel. Her poetry is widely known for this and for so many other reasons. The translation is, "My God of all, God's love shall never end. The sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the thundering heavens, the prayers of our heart. My God of all, God's love shall never end."
ייגמר לעולם.
שלא ייגמר לעולם, החול והים, רשרוש של המים, ברק השמיים, תפילת האדם, החול והים, רשרוש של המים, ברק השמיים, תפילת האדם, ברק השמיים, תפילת האדם.
There is a place that is as far from here as breathing out is from breathing in, for the word is very near to you, where life forever holds gentle sway over death, where people are human with the same grace that a willow is a willow, where the struggle and the yearning between male and female is at last resolved. It is, to begin with, all inside us. But because we are all miniature versions of the universe, it is also found far beyond. And because we are all biologically and spiritually part of the first human being, the place preceded us. And because we all carry within us the genotype and vision of the last human being, the place is foretold in us. There's no surprise in any of this. We have all known it all since before we were conceived by our most recent mother and father. So do not be confused if sometimes the place seems as real as your house or as illusory as your happiness. Only know in advance and instead that ordinary words will not be vessels or stores for some kinds of knowledge. That beautiful passage is from a beautiful little book called Honey from the Rock, an introduction to Jewish mysticism by Rabbi Lawrence Kushner. We're exploring mysticism this month as our Whole Soul Living Theme. Last week we looked at Christian mysticism, and today we will explore the mystic tradition within Judaism known as Kabbalah. And as the passage from Rabbi Kushner alludes to without directly saying, one of the core pieces of Kabbalistic teaching is that nothing is what it seems. Behind, within, beyond the world of appearances is a whole different realm, a deeper and infinitely larger realm of the Spirit, utterly permeated with divinity. Kabbalah tells us that we see this only in glimpses, as if through a veil, reflected in a mirror or seen through a fog, and for the most part, we're completely fooled by the world of appearances. We only think we got it right. In Kabbalah, the true nature of reality is inherently, magnificently divine, mysterious, and this is important, as the passage said, not accessible through words. The language in that passage is precise. Only know in advance, and instead that ordinary words will not be vessels or stores for some kinds of knowing. So a common example for how words fail to convey real knowledge is consider like getting to know the city of Paris by studying maps of Paris. Like you might come to know a great deal about Paris, every street and monument, but you wouldn't really know Paris unless you've actually been there, unless you've walked down the streets and felt the stones and seen the people and heard the noise on the street. To be clear, the divinity of Kabbalah is not the God of the Christian tradition. This is no father figure, white beard resting on the clouds, directing all the traffic down here. This is no insufferably patriarchic petulance. In Kabbalah, God is Ein Sof, which in Hebrew means without end, infinite, way beyond anything as trivial as a gender identity or self-seeking glory or sending saviors or demanding obedience. And though we might use the word infinite when we refer to Ein Sof, we do have to be careful. The human mind doesn't really work well with ideas like infinity. So as a sort of a short thought experiment, I invite you, go ahead, try and picture infinity or something infinite. Go ahead, try it. I'll wait. So most likely, what you just pictured was really, really big. Maybe a line stretching off to the distance or the vast vacuum of space. But even these are reference points. They're bounded by shapes or parameters, just as our hands, when we grab something, we need edges or borders to hold on to. And the same is true for trying to mentally grasp something. We create in our minds a limit, a point of reference, or even a metaphor. And when we've done that, we say, oh, yeah, now I understand, I get it. But we don't. Not really. Kabbalah teaches that Ein Sof, the all-pervading divinity, will simply not be grasped with words, with boundaries, even with metaphors, or with any concrete human experience. It is simply Ein Sof, without bounds, indefinable, period. And I'm hammering on this a little bit because this is the context and core of Kabbalah. These realms of ultimate reality on one hand and of human experience on the other are thought to be separated, or more accurately, kind of included, like nesting dolls, this realm completely inside of the other. And if you are an inner doll enclosed in the dark, you really have no way of knowing or understanding what's outside of your realm. Now, in some Kabbalistic teachings, it is exactly this mending of realms, the dismantling of the enclosing shell, that is the very purpose of human existence. God needs us to do this in order for God to be complete. So, and I think this is a perfectly reasonable question, right? If the truth and reality of God, Ein Sof, is indefinable and beyond words, just what does a Kabbalist study? What are we supposed to be looking for? How would we know if we even found it? So a common analogy in Kabbalah is that we go about this in this kind of the same way that we teach values to small children. Right? We want small children to learn responsibility and justice and respect and self-esteem. But these are intellectual concepts no child can grasp. So instead, we make concrete rules. We say hitting is bad, and toys and candy are supposed to be shared, and don't make fun of people or look down on them. And the idea, we hope, is that as the child grows up following these rules, they will eventually perceive, understand, and internalize the initial concepts that we set out to teach. So in a similar way, in Kabbalistic tradition, it is felt that although God, the ineffable, limitless, infinite source of all that is beyond our comprehension, That's what the teachings of the Torah and the Kabbalistic materials are for. The scriptures give us the concrete rules we're supposed to follow, and if we do this, if we live in the way that is written, over time we will internalize, perceive, and better understand what God wants for us, what God hopes for us, and maybe even become a little more godlike ourselves. The other piece of this kind of theological non-picture of God that we're exploring is that Ein Sof is believed to be an unequivocal unity. To quote Rabbi Lieberman, Judaism has placed at its masthead the principle of the oneness of God. A Jew proclaims twice a day, "Hear, O Israel, God is our Lord, God is one." When we speak of the martyrs who sacrificed their lives on behalf of the Almighty, especially those who were being forced to convert to Christianity, we speak of people who were martyred on behalf of God's unity. End quote. So in Kabbalah, they say God's unity is kind of like light passing through a prism. On one side, the light is single and white and undisturbed, but we live on the other side of the prism. So what we see are all the colors and hues refracted and projected. We live in the multiplicity. But the multiplicity is only a projection of the unity. Another analogy I found was to kind of imagine a child who over the course of a whole week hangs on his mother and is mean to his brother and cheats on a test. And those three events would appear to be separate and unrelated, but if we expand our vision, we might see each of these coming from a single underlying issue. Needing his mother's love and attention, the child hugs her and hangs on her when he's able, hits his younger brother who's stealing her attention, and cheats on his test, thinking to earn her love for having done well. Kabbalah tells us that if we don't see the unity behind everything, that's only because our perspective is too small. But Kabbalah tells us everything is woven into the unity of God. God, who puts the first breath of life in a newborn, also takes the last breath from the dying. God, who creates both the light and the darkness, for whom even the light and the darkness are one. So thus far, I've been talking mostly about theology or the background of Kabbalah, and I've been trying to do it in a way that you might hear it in a Kabbalistic school or from a rabbi, that is, with a healthy dose of philosophy and repetition. But I want to shift now to how we might actually practice these teachings. And the short answer of how we practice Kabbalah is that we let go. We let go of what we think we believe. We let go of the conventions we've learned. We let go of our limitations, most of them self-imposed. We let go of our need to be right. We let go of our need to control. We let go of pretending that the hunger in our souls is something we can fill by only using our heads. Dov-Ber Pinson wrote, "It's important to realize that the Kabbalah is more about losing ourselves than about finding, more about other-centered and less ego-centered. The literal translation of the word Kabbalah is that which is received. And to receive, we must be receptive. We must open ourselves, creating a vessel in which to absorb that which we wish to understand or grasp, and in turn become part of Kabbalah. To open the self to a higher reality, to view the spirit within the matter, to raise our consciousness to the point where our perception of reality is completely changed and the divine within all creation is revealed." End quote. So Kabbalah uses the stories of the Jewish tradition in deeply metaphorical ways to illustrate what this means. In the Torah, for example, Abraham is told by God, "Go forth from your land to the land, and from the land of your kindred, and even from your father's house, go to the land I will show you." And so all of those stories go, right? Isaac had to set out with his father. Jacob had to set out, leaving his birthright. Joseph had to set out, leaving his brothers and family. Moses had to set out, leaving his people for the wilderness. And I'm sorry, all these examples happen to be men. The Torah was decidedly not written for modern Unitarian Universalists. But one must set out. We have to leave the social milieu, leave the preconceptions, the definitions, the language, the expectations. One must be, in a word, open, in mind and in spirit. So if you think you know what you're going to find, you will find nothing. If you expect nothing, you will always be surprised. And this is the path of liberation. Kabbalah tells us that the lessons of these stories is that we will not receive our vision, our wholeness, our destiny, unless and until we do this. Jacob would not have wrestled with the angel. Joseph would not have foretold his dreams. Moses would not have seen the burning bush if any of them had not first stepped out, left their homes, let go of everything. Rabbi Kushner, again, from that book I quoted earlier, the wilderness is not just a desert through which the Hebrews wandered for 40 years. It is a way of being, a place that demands being open to the flow of life around you, a place that demands being honest with yourself without regard to the cost in personal anxiety. A place that demands being present with all of yourself. In the wilderness, your possessions cannot surround you. Your preconceptions cannot protect you. Your logic cannot promise you the future. Your guilt can no longer place you safely in the past. You are left alone, each day with an immediacy that astonishes, chastens, and exalts. You see the world as if for the first time. End quote. Once upon a time, I did a wedding at Garden of the Gods in Colorado Springs. It was a damp day of low clouds moving in and among the rocks and pine trees. It was utterly magical. The dampness was keeping the usual crowds of tourists away, and the wedding party and I were practically the only ones who were out there among the rocks. And at pauses during the ceremony, it was just impossible to not be struck by the silence and the beauty that we were temporarily a part of. So after the ceremony, in this solemn, magical, beautiful place, I was standing over by a low wall, and I was standing next to an older man who was looking out over the valley and the clouds and the trees, and I asked where he was from. And he didn't answer right away, but he finally said, "I have no idea." And my initial reaction, at least internally, was, "Oh great, a smart aleck." Or maybe I've just run into the crazy uncle of the family. But before I could say anything else, he gestured out over the silent, majestic rocks, and he said, "It's all a miracle." And I understood. I was talking with a fellow seeker, a mystic, a wandering soul, touched by the beauty and mystery of it all. And I smiled, and our eyes met, and we shared a knowing moment together. Kabbalah asks, if like Moses, you were wandering in the wilderness and saw a bush on fire, How long would you have to look at it to see that it was not being consumed? And the answer is longer than most people would do that. Longer than you would need to. You would have to look at it in a way that would be more than just to see it or use it or assess its danger. You would have to look at it long enough to see the something else that is always there and always waiting for you. In just this way, Kabbalah teaches that the whole world is sparks and flames. There is no place that is not infused with the Holy One. No place, no thing, no thought, no way, no experience that cannot become a way in for you, or a way out, or a way through, or a doorway to a deeper understanding. The question is only whether or not we will be open, whether our ears and eyes will be open to hear and to see. Rabbi Kushner, again, writing of the truer, deeper nature of our souls, he says, life is inescapably filled with meaning. That is because we have no more freedom than an oak tree. That is, we are free to be who we are, or we are free to pretend that we are someone or something else, but we are not free to be someone else. And this is the meaning of meaning, being connected with something that is itself connected with something, being part of a constellation of parts that is itself part of an even greater scheme. Nothing is entirely separate. The Holy One is always involved. So is any of this true? You know, in a literal sense, I have no idea. But the Kabbalah never, ever asks or expects us to be literal. And if we approach it that way, in a literal way, Kabbalah tells us clearly we are already on the wrong road. So next time someone asks you where you're from, see what happens if you give them an honest answer. And then, don't linger on it, but go ahead and take some small satisfaction, if you can, to giving the exact same honest answer to the question of where are you going. Amen.
Would you please rise in body and or spirit and join me in singing our closing affirmation? After our closing affirmation, please remain standing for our benediction. Behind all our differences and beneath our diversity, there is a unity that makes us one, binds us forever together throughout all time, life and death, and the space between the stars, throughout all time, life and death, and the space between the stars.
What is my purpose in life? I asked the void. What if I told you that you fulfilled it when you took an extra hour to talk to that kid about his life, said the void. Or when you paid for that young couple in that restaurant, or when you saved that dog in traffic, or when you tied your father's shoes. Your problem is that you equate purpose with goal-based achievement. God or the universe or morality isn't interested in your achievements, only your heart. When you choose to act out of kindness, compassion, and love, you are already aligned with your true purpose. You need look no further. Our service is ended. Go in peace.